So you're here to learn about nutrition and bodybuilding? Well, you just sit out, my friend, and I'll give you an earful. You know, I get it makes me laugh because people are so stuck up on steroids that a lot of guys refuse to believe I didn't use them. Oh, you couldn't build muscle that big. You use steroids. And I tell them, look, if I use it, I tell you, I don't give a shit whether you believe it or not. If I use it, I tell you. I didn't use it because when it got very popular, when people got into the mainstream of bodybuilding, I had a severed ankle and I could not compete. So it was no use for me taking that stuff because I tell you the truth. If I was training in the steroid era, I would have sucked it up because there's a psychology to athletes that the average person don't understand. You have that win type of psychology that you do anything. I would have drank hot horse urine if you told me you could build muscle at the period before I got hurt. After I got hurt, I went into sort of depression. That's why I love my friend Joe Weeder, because Joe brought me out of it. I thought my life was over. I was a young kid. I was only 22 years old. I was going to, had the big arms. It was not quite, about almost 20. I was going to conquer the world. Next thing I know, I'm fighting for my life. And Joe was there to tell me, don't worry, everything will be all right. You'll start training again, and it helped me a lot. But I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is what happened is I first remembered I wasn't, just playing around bodybuilding. I understand. I remember this kid named Freddie Ortez, and he had these huge arms, and I noticed these muscles that I never saw before, never experienced. I said, these guys are doing something other than training. Lifting weights, I know from experience, because I was training for hours, and I knew how the body responds. So then I heard it was this drug called Dianabol they were using, but it was not. See, another thing you got to remember, because I'm going back and forth, because that's where my mind works all over the place, but steroids were never, and people that never developed for athletes. People walking around here thinking that these guys in these labs developing steroids for athletes. There's no money in steroids for athletes. Steroids were developed for sick people, people that were wasting away. That's what they were developed for. Athletes found because it helps to maintain the building block of muscle. Nitrogen doesn't help, it does. Nitrogen is the end product of protein digestion. When they take steroids, it's like fertilizer because it holds the nitrogen in the muscle. And believe it or not, nitrogen is toxic. That's why the body flushes out. The body doesn't retain it, steroids retain it. And when it retains it, you build like you can never build what they never build other than with the steroids. It's called positive nitrogen balance. The more you can maintain that, the more the muscles will respond. It was never developed for athletes, and I keep trying to tell people that because they don't have an idea. They're steroid athletes. But none of these things were developed for athletes. So the point simply is athletes found out about it and they abused it. A lot of them got pretty sick using it. But the point is, I'm not knocking steroids because I know as a competitive bodybuilder I would have used it. And you do what it does, and also it shuts down the body's production of testosterone. And what it does, it takes over. It allows the body to do what it would never be able to do normally. That's why, and when I was training in the years before, they were saying that the biggest muscles a man could get was 18 inches because they didn't understand the connection with retaining nitrogen in the muscle and building it. Now, my idea is that steroids should be legal. And you know why it should be legal? It should be legal because making it illegal is making a lot of sick guys. Guys that are overdosing, there's no monitoring whatsoever. But I'll tell you, to make it legal and make it much more effective than making it illegal is to say that you could use it, but you must admit you're using it. And if we find out you're using it and you don't admit it, you are barred from competitive sports for 3 to 5 years. Now you put the the athlete in a real dilemma. He doesn't want to admit he takes steroids because he don't want anybody to think that his performance is connected to steroids. But yet he's terrified not to say don't do it because if they find out, he's barred from sports. That'll be more curtailment to using steroids than all these 2-cent politicians running out there making laws that doesn't work because guys going to try to get around it, making criminals out of decent people because they ain't got no better sense than that. You have to control it. The bodybuilder, any athlete, he's compelled, he's driven. With a guy sitting on his backside with a pencil, he can't relate to that. So we'll ban it. What are they doing? They're making sick. These guys are killing themselves, overdosing, not being monitored properly by the medical profession. The medical profession is terrified of it because they lock them up. So say, use it. Use the same as you do protein, but you've got to admit it. What does that do to the athlete? You'd be surprised. That'd be more curtailment to the athlete than all these laws, the fear of going to jail and all that. It'd be because no athlete want to say, well, I use steroids, that's why I got 22-inch arms. He don't want to say that.